What if I told you that one of the biggest financial frauds in history wasn't discovered by regulators, journalists, or even customers, but was literally written into the code from day one? Hidden deep in FTX's software was a secret switch, a trapdoor, a line of code that said, "Let them steal everything." And here's the terrifying part: the people who built it confess. In court, under oath, November 2022, the crypto world watches in horror as FTX, once valued at $32 billion, collapses in less than a week. $8 billion in customer money? Gone. But how did it disappear? Fast forward to the trial. A young engineer named Shad Singh takes the stand. He's 27 years old. He helped build FTX from the ground up. And now he's about to reveal something that will make your blood run cold. Singh admits he programmed the fraud directly into FTX's code. Think about that. This wasn't a hack. This wasn't a mistake. This was intentional. From day one, FTX's computer system was designed line by line to secretly funnel customer money into Sam Bankman-Fried's hedge fund, Alameda Research. But Singh didn't stop there. He also confessed to faking $50 million in revenue in 2021, making FTX look profitable when it was bleeding money, making it look safe when it was a ticking time bomb. Now here's where it gets truly insane. Deep in FTX's database, hidden among millions of lines of code, was a column called allow_negative. You know what that means? It means exactly what it sounds like. For normal users, people like you and me, if your account hits zero, you can't withdraw anymore. That's basic banking. That's common sense. But for Alameda Research, they had a special privilege. Their allow_negative switch was turned on. They could withdraw money even when they had nothing left. They could go negative. They could spend customer deposits like a credit card with no limit. And get this, nobody else on the platform had this feature. Just them. Just a company owned by the same guy who ran FTX. Still think this was an accident. But wait, didn't FTX have an insurance fund? You know, to protect customers if something went wrong. Yeah, they said they did. Right there on the website. A big number. Growing every day, making you feel safe. Except it was completely fake. Court testimony revealed that the code displaying FTX's insurance fund was rigged. It didn't show real money. It just took the daily trading volume, multiplied it by a random number, and displayed that. Translation: the insurance fund was theater. Smoke and mirrors. A number on a screen designed to make you feel protected while they were robbing you blind. And here's the kicker: most of the time, the real fund was completely empty. Zero. Nothing. Meanwhile, Alameda had racked up a $65 billion credit line on FTX. That's billion with a BSBF, just kept raising their limit. Higher and higher, no questions asked. By late 2019, Alameda's account was $200 million in the red. That was more than FTX's entire annual revenue at the time. They'd already stolen more than the company had ever earned. Another co-founder, Gary Wang, testified that when he saw this number, he knew it was fraud. He knew they were stealing customer money. And he said nothing. The trapdoor was open. And billions were about to fall through. So they're stealing customer money through hidden code. But here's the question nobody was asking. What were they doing with all that cash? The answer: they were trying to buy the United States government. Between 2020 and 2022, FTX insiders secretly funneled tens of millions of dollars into political campaigns. Democrats, Republicans, both sides. Over 300 separate contributions, and every single dollar stolen from customer deposits. Ryan Salam, Alameda's co-CEO, eventually admitted the whole scheme. Court documents laid out in black and white. They used straw donors, shell accounts, and fake names to hide where the money was really coming from. Why? To influence cryptocurrency regulation. To make sure the laws would be written in FTX's favor. To make sure nobody would look too closely at what they were doing. They were using your moneyed customer deposits as a political slush fund. Now here's what makes this especially clever and especially disgusting. Sam Bankman-Fried played both sides. He publicly donated to Democrats, became the second largest donor to Biden's campaign, got himself on magazine covers as the crypto billionaire with a conscience. But behind the scenes, his co-conspirators were pumping millions into Republican campaigns too. They just used different names, different channels. Why would they do this? Simple. It's not about ideology. It's about access. About making sure that whoever wins, they have a friend in office. Nishad Singh, the same engineer who coded the backdoor, also pleaded guilty to making illegal political contributions with Alameda funds, all at SBF's direction. The Department of Justice said it plainly. This was a conspiracy to influence cryptocurrency regulation through illegal means. Translation: FTX was trying to buy the rules that were supposed to regulate them. Let's zoom out for a second and appreciate the sheer audacity of this scheme. They stole customer money, billions of dollars, then used that money to fund politicians, who were supposed to be regulating them, to make sure they couldn't steal customer money. It's like robbing a bank, then using the stolen cash to bribe the police chief so he doesn't investigate bank robberies. And it almost worked. For years, FTX operated with barely any oversight. Sam Bankman-Fried testified before Congress. He was on CNBC. He was celebrated as the future of finance, all while the code was silently draining customer accounts in the background. But here's what really gets me. These weren't seasoned criminals with decades of experience. Ryan Salam was in his 20s. Nishad Singh was 27. Carolyn Ellison, who I'll get to in a minute, was 28 when she was running Alameda. These were kids. Smart kids, sure. But kids who found themselves with access to billions of dollars and zero adult supervision. And when you give people that much money and that much power with no accountability, this is what happens. But the political corruption, that was just the beginning. Because when you're stealing billions, apparently you also need to spend billions. Picture this. You're a customer on FTX. You've deposited your life savings, maybe $50,000. You think it's safe. You think it's in a digital vault somewhere. Want to know where it actually was? A $30 million penthouse in the Bahamas. That's where Sam Bankman-Fried lived. But it wasn't just one penthouse. FTX owned 35 properties in the Caribbean, worth a combined $256 million. 15 penthouses in a single luxury resort called the Albany. Your money was buying beachfront real estate while you checked your account balance and thought everything was fine. But they didn't just buy the properties, they lived in them. And lived large. In just 9 months, FTX spent $15.4 million on luxury hotels in the Bahamas. $5.8 million at the Albany Hotel alone. Millions more at the Grand Hyatt, the Rosewood. These weren't business expenses. This was a permanent vacation funded by customer deposits. But here's where it goes from expensive to absolutely insane. Amazon doesn't deliver to the Bahamas. You know what FTX did? They spent $3.9 million on private charter flights to ship Amazon packages from the U.S. to the Bahamas. Think about that. They could have just not ordered from Amazon. They could have used local stores. They could have had things shipped normally slowly, but cheaply. Nope, private planes. For Amazon boxes, $3.9 million. Oh, and they also spent $500,000 on postage, just in case the charter flights weren't enough. Meanwhile, every FTX employee got $200 per day in DoorDash credits. Every day, whether they used it or not. The company spent $400,000 on DoorDash in just a few months. That's not a perk. That's not a benefit. That's insanity. But the real money? That went to celebrities and boats. FTX paid Shaquille O'Neal $2.5 million for an endorsement. They paid Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, Larry David, Steph Curry, all to make FTX look legitimate. And you know what? It worked. When you see Tom Brady on a Super Bowl commercial, you don't think fraud. You think safe. Then there's the yacht. And yes, there's always a yacht. FTX bought a 52-foot yacht for $2.5 million. They named it, and I'm not making this up, Soak My Deck. The yacht was listed as a benefit for Alameda's CEO, because apparently when you're running a hedge fund with stolen money, you need a boat with a pun name. Oh, and they spent $600,000 at Margaritaville, Jimmy Buffett's restaurant chain. $600,000 on margaritas and cheeseburgers. But here's the number that really matters, $3.2 billion. That's how much was paid out directly to FTX and Alameda executives, not salaries, not bonuses, just money. Transfer from company accounts into their personal bank accounts. $3.2 billion. Straight from customer deposits into their pockets. And all of this, the penthouses, the planes, the celebrities, the boats, all of it was funded by people who just wanted a safe place to keep their cryptocurrency. People who trusted FTX. People who believed the ads. People who thought their money was protected. It wasn't. So how did they hide all of this? How did they move billions of dollars without anyone noticing? Simple. They made it impossible to follow the money. FTX wasn't one company. It was 130 companies, all interconnected, all shuffling money between each other. When FTX collapsed in November 2022, over 130 affiliated entities filed for bankruptcy. At the same time, in multiple countries, the bankruptcy filing listed over 100,000 creditors, people who were owed money. Total liabilities? Somewhere between $10 and $50 billion. Somewhere between? Yes, because the records were such a disaster that nobody actually knew how much money was gone. The new CEO brought in to clean up the mess said FTX's financial records were in complete disarray. It was the worst corporate failure he'd ever seen. And this is a guy who'd worked on Enron. FTX's main exchange was based in the Bahamas. So when it collapsed, Bahamian regulators got involved. Then U.S. regulators. Then regulators from every country where FTX had an entity. It was chaos by design. Because when money is flowing through 130 different companies in 50 different countries, good luck figuring out where it went. Now let's talk about the weirdest part of this entire story. And trust me, that's saying something. Sam Bankman-Fried had a girlfriend. Her name was Carolyn Ellison. She was also the CEO of Alameda Research, the hedge fund stealing everyone's money. After FTX collapsed and SBF was arrested, he did something unhinged. He leaked her personal diary to the New York Times, her private journal, her intimate thoughts, details about their relationship, their sex lives, their mental health struggles, all leaked to a major newspaper. And when prosecutors found out and asked for a gag order, you know what SBF's lawyers said? They said it was protected by the First Amendment. They said he was just giving his side of the story. They said it wasn't nefarious. The judge wasn't buying it. But the damage was done. Carolyn Ellison's most private moments were now public. Not because she shared them, but because her ex-boyfriend, who was facing life in prison, decided to weaponize her diary. This is what happens when people with no boundaries get too much power. They don't just ruin companies. They ruin lives. But we've saved the most bizarre revelation for last. Because apparently, stealing $8 billion wasn't enough for Sam Bankman-Fried. He had bigger plans. Court documents revealed that SBF and his inner circle discussed buying the country of Nauru. Not property in Nauru, the entire country. All 21 square kilometers of it. Why? To build a doomsday bunker. Their plan laid out in internal memos was to use Nauru as a safe haven in case of an apocalypse. A place to repopulate the world if civilization collapsed. But it gets weirder. They also wanted to use the island for human genetic enhancement research. They wanted to build laboratories for experimenting with human genetic engineering. Let me say that again. The guy who stole your cryptocurrency wanted to buy a country to run genetic experiments on humans. FTX's charitable arm, which was supposed to be funding malaria research. And poverty relief was instead giving grants for things like measuring people's utility function and creating YouTube animations about grabby aliens. Lawyers in the bankruptcy case called these plans misguided and dystopian, which might be the understatement of the century. So let's recap. FTX had fraud coded into its software from day one. They used customer money to bribe politicians. They spent billions on luxury real estate, private jets, and celebrity endorsements. They created a maze of 130 shell companies to hide the theft. The founder leaked his ex-girlfriend's diary to the press. And they wanted to buy an island to do genetic experiments. And through it all, they positioned themselves as the good guys of crypto. The responsible ones. The ones building a better financial system. In November 2023, Sam Bankman-Fried was convicted on 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy. He faces up to 115 years in prison. But the money? Most of it's gone. Hidden in the corporate maze. Spent on penthouses and politicians. Vanished into the Bahamas. And the customers, the people who just wanted a safe place to store their crypto, they're still waiting to get their money back. The lesson? When someone promises you the future, check the code. Because sometimes, hidden in those lines of software is the truth. The truth that it was all a scam. From the very first line.